Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan.
The Honorable Rector of University of Bengkulu, represented by Vice Rector, Resources Affairs, Yefriza, SA, MPPM, PhD.
The Honorable Head of UPT Bahasa University of Bengkulu, Dr. Wisma Yunita, MPD.
The Honorable Invited Speaker, Dr. John Raymond Baker from Ton Duc Tong University, Vietnam.
And the dearest, all participants in the Academic Writing Workshop for Lecturers 2023.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let us praise and thanks to the Almighty God for the grace and blessing so that we can all gather in good health for Academic Writing Workshop for Lecturer 2023.
The dearest participants, good afternoon. Now, please let us introduce ourselves. My name is Carolina Itohu Tauruk from Management Study Program.
And I am Fikril Fifahmi from Agribusiness Study Program.
It is an honor for us to be the master of ceremony of today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, Academic Writing Workshop for Lecturers is part of UNIP English Day 2023. In this workshop, we also invite our international speaker, Dr. John Raymond Baker from Ton Duc Tang University, Vietnam.
Now, before going to the next agenda, please allow us to deliver our rundown for today's session. First, opening. Second, singing the national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Third, reciting Holy Quran. Fourth, welcoming speech by the head of UPT Bahasa University of Bengkulu, Dr. Wisma Yunita, MPD.
Fifth, welcoming speech by the Rector of University of Bengkulu, represented by the Vice Rector of Research Affairs, Yefriza, SA, MPPM, PhD, and also to cordially open the Academic Writing Workshop for Lecturers 2023. 6. Praying. 7. Closing.
Ladies and gentlemen, to begin our very first agenda, together let's say Basmalah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
The next agenda is singing the national anthem, Indonesia Raya, which will be led by Iran. To Iran, the stage is yours. Attendees are asked to stand up, please.
Thank you. The attendees, please have a seat.
The next agenda is reciting the Holy Quran to Miss Fajriyah, the stage is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahilladzi anzala ala abdihil kitaba wa lam yaj'alahu 'iwaja qayyiman liyunzira ba'san syadidan min ladunhu wa yubashshiral mu'minin alladhina ya'maluna as-salihati anna lahum ajran hasana. Sadaqallahul azim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. Praise be to Allah, who has sent to his servant the book, and had alone there is no crookedness. He had made it straight and clear, in order in that he might warn the godless of a terrible punishment from him, and that he may give glad tidings to the believers who work righteous deeds, that they shall have a goodly reward. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Ms. Fajriah. Next is the welcoming speech by the head of UPT Bahasa, University of Bengkulu, Dr. Wisma Yunita, MPD. The stage is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Bapak and Ibu, ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable, the Vice Rector for Resource Affairs of the University of Bengkulu, Dr. Yefriza, and the guest speaker today, Dr. John Baker. The last 2 days is sleepless day, working really hard for this. And then Dr. John Baker from Tan Dac Tang University in Vietnam. Welcome again to University of Bengkulu. This is day 2. We have to stand strong, and I hope that you find Bengkulu is a nice place to stay. You said so. You said it's nice to stay. The distinguished participant of the academic workshop for lecturers. Yesterday we held the students, but today we have it for lecturers and come from many universities, not only from the faculty inside the University of Bengkulu. So we got college from IAIN Curug, Ibu Heni, yeah, and we got college from UNPAS. Is there here? UNPAS, not coming. And UMB, not coming yet. Also UNRAS, Ibu Yuni, yeah. And then dari PGRI Silampari, sudah datang? Not yet. All right. And the others is from the faculties. At the beginning, it is set for the faculties at the University of Bengkulu only. But some colleagues say, can I join the conference, the workshop? And I said, Well, we still have the seat to, and the building is not yet full, so why not we share the event with everyone who wants this and love to gain new knowledge. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome every one of you. You have come away from Churup and from Argamakmur and also from other cities outside of the town. And today, this workshop is a series of workshops held by Universitas Bengkulu on the event English Day 2023 with the topic Expanding Your Writing Horizon. And this time we have the tips for international publication. I believe everyone in this room is needed. This. Are you? Yes? Yes. Oh, I got college from Unihas. Welcome. And yeah, these activities today for the English Day is not only here. We have also at UPT Bahasa now running the Scrabble competition and storytelling competition, and now we also have here. So it's a series of events running today, and it is profoundly what we did now is in line with the vision of our university to make University of Bengkulu becoming the world-class university by 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, this second workshop attended by around 90 participants. This is quite huge to gather people for 90 lectures. And this event cannot be materialized, cannot come true, or cannot be happen without the support from the top university management. We have here Ibu Yevriza, and thank you so much for the great support you give to us, and also from many deans and also the bureau and unit at Bengkulu University. And we also have sponsored, but the sponsor is not here at UPT Bahasa today. We got Gramedia, we got Public Hustle, and we have the Mayora, Wadah, and BTV. Of those who have BTV access at home, this morning, if not mistaken, we are already being aired on the BTV, and they sent the link to me this morning. And of course, I also have to say thank you so much for, again, Tim Bola Bekel at UPT Bahasa now, sharing with you the snack, Ibu-Ibu, and also with the volunteers. I work with the volunteers, like around 10 of them. And ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to invite you, if you have time tomorrow, to come to UPT Bahasa, because we still have the event tomorrow, and it's the last day of this series of Undip English Day 2023. And in this event also today, this afternoon, we have Dr. John Baker, who is really well versed in this publication thing. I'm not taking a lie, I'm not saying a lie, I'm telling you the truth that he is the one, the right person. So please give applause to Dr. John Baker. Yeah, Dr. John Baker is a managing editor, as you see it on the screen maybe. He's a lecturer, a researcher, managing editor, a reviewer for many international journals, which I believe you need the knowledge, and he is the right person to be with us today, who have flew away from Vietnam to Thailand, to Jakarta, and to Bengkulu. 24-hour flight for him to come here. So that is not an easy thing to do, but he's here. Thank you so much for coming here, John. And for every one of you, I hope you will still be having a lot of batteries. What I mean is, it's 2 o'clock, right? It's like a kind of like sleepy time. But I hope it's not going to make you sleepy, because it's a rare chance. It's not coming every day, this chance. So maybe for the next 3 hours, please wake up. All right? So without further ado, say thank you so much for everyone. I wish you a pleasant workshop. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Dr. Wisma Yunita, MPD, for the extraordinary remarks. Next is the welcoming speech by the Rector of University of Bengkulu, represented by the Vice Rector of Resource Affairs, and also cordially to open the event this afternoon to Ibu Yafriza S.A. MPPM PhD. The floor is yours.
The Honorable Dr. John R. Baker, our keynote speaker, the Honorable Dr. Wisma Yunita, Head of UPT Bahasa, and distinguished guests, fellow faculty members from the University of Bengkulu and other universities in Bengkulu. Yeah. Greetings to all of you on this occasion, the academic writing workshop with the theme Expanding Your Writing Horizons, Tips for International Publication. Yeah. It is one of the events of UNIP English Day that organized by UPT Bahasa, and today we have the opportunity together in this room to enhance our skills in academic writing and delve into strategies for achieving the international recognition. And I'm honored to address you today as the Vice Rector for Resources of the University of Bengkulu, and it is my privilege to welcome our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. John R. Baker from Ton Duc Thang University, Vietnam. And as already mentioned by Dr. Wisma, that Dr. Baker's extensive experience as a lecturer, researcher, managing editor, associate editor, and reviewer for numerous journals speak volumes about his profound expertise and unwavering commitment to the field of academic writing. And the theme of this year workshop, Expanding Your Writing Horizon, Tips for International Publication, resonate deeply with our university's dedication to fostering academic excellence and promoting international collaboration. I think this already started. Bu Wisma already talked to Dr. Baker about the opportunity to have a collaboration with other universities in many countries. And by refining our writing skills and embracing effective publication strategies, we can elevate our research to global stage and make significant contribution to our respective field of study. And in today's dynamic academic landscape, effective communication and dissemination of our research finding are of paramount importance. And international publication not only enhances the reputation of our university, but also serve as a testament to the high caliber of our faculty and students. And through this comprehensive workshop, we aim to equip you with the necessary knowledge and tools to navigate the intricacies of international publication. And Dr. Baker's insightful presentation will provide us with valuable guidance as we explore strategies for crafting compelling manuscripts, adhering to ethical guidelines, and identifying suitable journals for our work. As we embark on this journey of expanding our writing horizons, let us draw inspiration from Dr. Baker's exemplary achievements and unwavering commitment to academic excellence. And let us strive to produce high quality research, meticulously crafted manuscripts, and strong understanding of the international publication process. Yeah. And Dr. Bakers will share with us all his experiences, knowledge in this regard. And on behalf of the University of Bengkulu, I extend our deepest gratitude to Dr. Baker for his willingness to share his knowledge and expertise with us. Dr. Baker will stay until 12th of November, right? Yeah, so it's quite time to go. And his presence today is a testament to our university's commitment to fostering academic writing excellence and achieving global recognition. So I already talked with Dr. Bekas, and he's very nice person. I believe that you're not going to sleep during his presentation. Yeah, you will enjoy it, and I hope you will enjoy the workshop. And to Bu Wisma and team, thank you for organizing this workshop and all the events that related with the English Day. I think this is the first time after the COVID, right, Bu Wisma, for this event. Yeah, hopefully we will have a similar event for next year. Yeah, and finally, I have to open this workshop, right? Finally, by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, this workshop is officially open. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Ibu Yefriza SA MPPM PhD for the very nice speech and for opening our big event officially. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are moving to the next agenda, praying. To Mr. Ejon Tommy Afrizon, the stage is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, the distinguished guest speaker, and dear all the attendees. So in this chance, I'm going to lead the prayer in Syariat Islam. We are begging you, please, to those who are in other beliefs, to pray on your own way and faith. To begin with, let's recite the Holy Surat Al-Fatihah. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim, Maliki Yaumiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdinas siratal mustaqim, Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim, Ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma inna nas'aluka salamatan fid din wa afiatan fil jasad wa ziyadatan fil ilmi wa barakatan fi rizki, wa taubatan qabla maut, wa rahmatan indal maut, wa maghfiratan badal maut. Allahumma hawin alaina fi sakaratil maut wa najata minan nar wa alfa hindal hisab. Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaitana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmatan innaka antal wahhab. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dzurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Today we are conducting an academic writing workshop with a theme, Expanding Your Writing Horizons, Tips for International Publication. Ya Allah, please bless our activities, give your grace and guidance so we can become intellectuals. In the hope of you, Ya Allah, may the knowledge we have gained from this activity today will be useful for all of us now and in the future. Ya Allah, Ya Shafi, keep us on health, prosperity, and welfare, and guide us to the straight path, the path that you are pleased with. Ya Allah, Ya Nasir, protect us from all the disease and crime, protect us from all calamities and dangers. Ya Allah, Ya Ghaffar, please forgive our sins, the sins of our parents, and the sins of the former, because it is only to you that we will return forever. Rabbi firli wal walidayya warhamhuma kama rabbayani saghira. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun al mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Mr. Ejontomi Afrizon. The honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, that was the opening ceremony for Academic Writing Workshop for Lecturer 2023. Let's close our opening ceremony by saying Hamdalah. Alhamdulillah.
We, as the host of ceremony on behalf of the committee, would like to thank all participants, our honorable guest speakers, and attendees who are present this afternoon. We are sorry for all mistakes. That is all, and thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We get into our main talk show, we will have a photo sessions. So we're inviting Dr. John Raymond Baker, Ibu Yevriza as our Vice Rector, and Miss Misma to come to the front stage to have a photo sessions, and also Mr. Aziz to also come to the front stage.
try, but I mean, it's going to be really slow. Okay.
Okay, but before we are going for the talk show, we were, yeah, basically we need to invite first to the front stage. Like
Oh, we're gonna talk?
and also, yeah, I need to talk first.
Okay. A little bit, yeah. That's part of the reason.
This is mine, this is yours.
Ambo, kakak aja.
Enggak, apa aja. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Academic Writing Workshop 2023 with the keynote speaker, Dr. John Raymond Baker from Ton Duc Tang University. So this session will be moderated by Mr. Azhar Aziz Lubis, MPD.
So, dear all participants, Dr. John Raymond Baker is a lecturer, researcher, managing editor, associate editor, and reviewer for several journals. And for today's sessions, he will deliver valuable knowledge related with the academic writing. So,
Wow, that's so
without further ado,
interesting.
yeah.
So,
without any further ado, please welcome Dr. John Raymond Baker from Ton Duc Tang University, Vietnam.
and our moderator, Mr. Azhar Aziz Lubis, come to the stage.
Hello. I break all the rules.
Cek. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. In this bright opportunity, we are going to listen together to Pak John. Let me call you Pak John. Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Pak John. Yeah. 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 Okay. Pak John is now in front of us, so there is one information for you, John, that we are now here our lecturers, so faculty members. So So this is the CV, and I'm going to introduce Pak John here. So he holds a PhD in English, particularly in composition and TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages, from the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, USA. Okay, very good. And then, you have 2 PhDs right here. Yeah. So I can call you what? So I can call you Dr. John. Not really, yeah?
Doctor's fine.
Doctor is fine. John, yeah, Pak John. Okay. And yeah, as you can see that he has so many experiences in teaching English and managing journals, academic journals particularly. And yeah, now he is in Vietnam, in Ton Duc Tang University in Vietnam, and prior to that, he has been living in Taiwan, and then so many places in the world. What is more interesting is that his PhD thesis. You want to see that, guys? Okay, let's see. The title of his PhD thesis is, take a look at here. Maybe this is an inspiration for you who are going to pursue a PhD. So this is 2013, Choosing Materials for a Writing Center Resource Library in an ELL Setting, Doctoral Dissertation. Can you see it? So please scroll to the next page. Scroll. Okay, next. Okay. So this is the title of his PhD thesis. Maybe it could be next an inspiration for you guys who are going to pursue a PhD. Next. So this is his experiences. So this is journal managing journals. So there are 18 journals he has managing. Next, oh stop, next before that. Not really. Dissertation, is that next? Publication, next. So massive publication. Book reviews, slowly, next, slowly. So this one, yeah. So this is the title of his PhD in Pennsylvania. So the title is Choosing Materials for a Writing Center Resource Library in an ELL Setting, English Language Laboratory. Okay, so yeah. Of course, John, you're not going to tell us about something we have known that, but you need to give us the tips. So what is the tips for international publication? That's very much, I think that's very important for us because we are now our faculty members. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. John. Pak John, time is yours, John.
Salmi Batik. That was the best I can do. I practiced that all day. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm John. We're absolutely the same. We're teachers, and we're researchers, and we write. And today I hope to share with you a little bit about things I wish people told me when I first started, because it took me a long time to figure all this out. And I haven't figured it all out yet. I'm just going to share with you what I figured out so far. Okay. And maybe later you'll figure out something and you'll share it with me. Okay. So today I'm going to share with you what I've learned over the years about writing and publication and how to help you do it more efficiently. Okay. I believe that people don't do anything normally because they don't know how. And people are afraid of what they don't understand. Okay. So my job today is to increase your understanding of the unknown and walk you through how to do it. And I'll walk you through how to join the discourse community, to include how to become a reviewer of journals. That's a nice training ground for writing. Okay. I'll show you how to increase your own H-index, your own citation counts. I'll show you how to join conferences and choose them. Okay. I'll show you how to choose journals. Okay. I'll walk you through the different types of research and how to conduct it. Okay. And then we'll close. Okay. And overall, I found that after these discussions, whoever I'm speaking to, they're more confident. And the publication counts of the department or the school or whoever I visited tend to go up based on the staff's work, not mine. I mean, my role ends when I leave, and you guys pick up the ball and you go forward. And I met everybody today, and there's some really smart people in this room. So I think you're going to do great. I don't know everything in this world. There are a lot of people out there a lot smarter than me. But today I'm going to share with you what I found up to now. And I hope it's helpful. Okay. Shall we begin? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's John. I'm a researcher lecturer at Tan Duc Tho. And a large part of my job is research, not teaching. Okay. I enjoy publishing, I enjoy researching, I enjoy editing, and I enjoy reviewing, and I think it's a package. You join the discourse community. That's my WhatsApp right there, and you're welcome to say hello to me later. The PowerPoint will be sent to you somehow, I'm not sure, but it'll get there. That's my ORCID, which I'll show you how to join. Anybody know what ORCID is? One finger if you know ORCID. One finger, I know ORCID. I know what ORCID. Okay, great. I've joined ORCID, 2 fingers. Okay, great. We got it. All right. Next slide. How do you feel about publishing? How many people feel like this? One finger. How many people feel like that? Two fingers. That's my job today. I'm going to get you over there, okay? I'm going to get you over there. Next slide. I'm going to help you with the transition. Next slide. Okay, we're going to stand at the top of the mountain. That's the tallest building in Taiwan. Okay, by the way, I'm a permanent resident of Taiwan. I'm a permanent resident of Vietnam. I lived there for 20 years. I live in Vietnam for 7 now. And I think I'm going to spend a lot of time here in Indonesia. Okay, next slide. Okay, professional development, you do all these really cool things in your professional development, right? But this other stuff you need to do too. You need to attend and publish conferences. You need to publish in non-index Scopus and SCI journals. Have I ever published in a non-index journal? Sure. Indexing is new. Indexing is new. It's a business. It's owned by Elsevier. Okay? Elsevier owns Scopus. Elsevier is a publisher. Okay. No comment. So, a long time ago, the biggest journal in our field is TESOL Quarterly. It came to being in 1966. Okay? Teaching in the 2-year college, much before that. Didn't become indexed until 4 or 5 years ago. Biggest journal in the field. Okay? So indexing is the Johnny come lately, and we're working with it. Okay? Next. Okay, join the academic community. That's important. You gotta join the community, okay? Whether you like it or not, it's the way things are now, okay? You can fight it if you want to, but it's not gonna turn out well, okay? Okay, next slide. ORCID. You can join ORCID, and you get an ORCID number, and that's tied to everything you do. Okay? Every time you publish, Scopus will automatically update it. Now, by the way, Scopus will not automatically update itself. Let me tell you a trick. If you publish in a journal, you better write Scopus immediately and tell them you did it. There's a help button. Because if you don't, and that journal gets delisted 4 or 5 or 10 years later, and Scopus didn't index your article, you lose it. And they will not care that that was 5 years ago. They just won't care. But it was indexed 5 years ago. Sorry, the door is closed. Okay. Next slide. You need to join Google Scholar, your Google Scholar profile. By the way, all of these are married to each other now. And trust me, it's a business. Okay. Next slide. You need to join Scopus. Get a Scopus profile. Okay. And by the way, they don't like each other. They'll post different information no matter how hard you try. You'll have more here than there. It'll drive you crazy, but there's no way around it. Okay, next slide. Web of Science. It's a business, right? Owns Publons, right? It's a huge business. But they own the game, you get to play it. So learn to play it well. Okay, next slide. Join Academia EDU. Now, Academia EDU provides lower citation counts than ResearchGate, okay? And this store is cheaper than this store, but this store has something better than that store, and that something has better, so go to both stores, okay? All right, next slide. What's really cool about Academia EDU, it's like social media for educators, okay, or academics. So this was one of my professors in university, and he found me. Hi, John. It's like, man, I haven't seen you. I thought you were dead. Okay, next slide. ResearchGate. ResearchGate is kind of cool. By the way, Academia and ResearchGate, you get to upload your publications if you have the copyright to them. If you don't have the copyright to them, you get to upload a preprint. It's almost the same, okay? And it still works. Next slide. How does publishing help you? Well, it's either a requirement, it helps your reputation, okay? It helps your employability, Look, guys, I know how hard you work. You work 15, 20 hours a day. You run this program, you run this program. But you know what? A year from now, nobody's going to remember that. Nobody remembers that I founded and ran 4 centers. Okay, nobody cares. Nobody remembers that I worked 30 hours a week as teacher because my colleague was sick. Okay, they don't remember any of that. Okay, what they remember is what's on my resume, and that's it. Okay, okay. Next, you getting paid. Sorry, back. Feed the family. You can get bonuses for publishing. You can get grants, right? Or you can become a researcher like me, where frankly, that's what feeds my family. I have to write every day. I have a quota of how many I have to publish, and then I get a bonus above that. It's like a salesman. Okay, you get this much just to show up, and then you have to publish this much to feed your family. Okay. My wife came home one day after about a year, and she goes, "Do you work? Do you have a job? You never go to the office." Okay. I said, "Honey, I work all the time. See the money in the bank?" Okay. Next slide. Okay, who do you write with? With a co-author? Who do you write with? Big names? Okay, maybe. Okay. I've had the honor of writing with some big names. Do you write with old professors? Yeah, why not? It's fun, right? Sometimes your professor will just bring you in on something and teach you, right? Where you do the work and you work together. It's a cool thing. Okay. Colleagues. Yeah. Okay. Students. Yeah, why not? Okay. But listen, just because everybody contributes doesn't mean everybody's an author. Okay? It is a level of contribution. And you have to figure out what that is. And by the way, journals will not let you usually change your authorship once submission goes. So you got to make sure that's right going in. And make sure it's on paper or you're really good buddies, because you get into a fight, a journal will throw you out. Okay, next slide. Who's the first author? Who's the corresponding author? First author gets paid. Corresponding author gets paid the same amount. They're absolutely equal, okay, in the world. Everyone else, thanks for coming. I'm serious, okay? Thanks for showing up. Okay, but still do it, okay? Still contribute to that paper, because later you'll be first author or corresponding author. Sometimes you'll have 3 or 4 papers going together at the same time with really hard work. I mean, no ethical gifting authorship, unethical gifting authorship. I mean, real work. I mean, I have, like, with one guy, I've got a couple papers going. I'm doing 2, he's doing 2, and he's doing this statistical analysis because he's an absolute genius, right? Okay, I'm doing the data collection, the literature review, and we're doing that on both papers. I think we published 5 papers together. Well, I think it was 2, 3. I'll have to check. Anyway, we did a lot of work together. It was fun. We worked on 5 papers, but I think we published 2 or 3 together. Okay, next slide. Types of articles. There are conference papers, research articles, review articles, teaching articles, book reviews, book chapters, and edited books. And by the way, I also forgot reports. I forgot to put in the reports. There's a lot of them in there, and guess what? They're all different. Oh no, they're all different. So you have to learn how to write each and every one of them. How do you do that? You read a lot of them, and you follow the guidelines. And I'm going to show you the guidelines today. Okay. Next. Okay. Research articles, well, there's a whole bunch of kinds. There's quantitative, qualitative, mixed, theoretical, and inside the quantitative, there's lots of different kinds. Inside the qualitative, there's lots of different kinds. They're all different, and you have to learn to write the kind that you want to write. Now, I'm one of those fun guys that always does a different kind. I love to do different methodology just for fun, just to see what happens, right? Okay, all right. It doesn't always turn out so good, but we do our best, okay? Also, you can do longitudinal studies, replication studies, structural equation modeling, which I'm totally in love with right now, okay? And quantitative meta-analysis. And they're all different. Okay, next slide. Kinds of studies. Experimental, correlational, causal, comparative, survey, action research, case. Wow, that's a lot, right? Okay, I love young graduate students. So, what kind of study are you doing? Mixed methods. Right? Qualitative. Tell me more. What are you doing? Quantitative. Tell me more. SPSS. Okay. Have you ever had that conversation, right? Well, are you going to do a t-test, linear regression? What are you going to do? SPSS. Okay. Okay. Next slide. Where do you submit your work? What to consider? Next slide. Okay. Right now, we're just going to talk about conference presentations, okay? But you can submit to all of these places. Now, can you present, and I'm not going to talk about I'm not going to talk about country rules or anything else. I'm talking about APA, okay? Can you submit a paper to a conference proceeding and get it published in the proceedings and then expand it and publish it in a journal and be ethical? Everybody say yes. Okay? It's in APA, it's right there in the book. Okay? You're not publishing the same paper because conferences are usually where you try out an idea. Okay? And the paper that you're publishing in the conference proceedings is like this. The conference in the journal is like this. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? This is a baby, this is the whole thing. Okay. And oftentimes the conference proceedings are not Scopus indexed. And they're not really published in that same. Okay. So next slide. Where to find conferences? Well, Conal and I have developed a relationship. That was one of my conferences last year. You can find them online, and here's a trick. Type in conference, call for papers, and then whatever area you want to do. And Google will, and it will just dump everything on your desktop, okay? Okay, next slide. Understanding conference websites. Next slide. This is a website. Now, when you go to a conference, look at the website because there's a lot of scams out there. Okay? Now, if you want to know about conferences that are, the proceedings are indexed, just go to the Scopus webpage, download the Excel sheet, and it'll tell you. That means the proceedings are Scopus indexed. That doesn't mean that a Scopus journal can't still support the conference. These are two different things. Okay. Now, if the website looks really cool, looks really professional, you're going, maybe it's okay, right? Next slide. Then you see, is it hybrid, on-site, or virtual, right? Okay, next slide. Then you look at the themes to see if you're in there. Now, sometimes they say other related areas. Guess what? You might be in there. Submit a proposal and see what happens. Look, it's oftentimes they don't get enough presenters or whatever, and you still got a chance to get in. Well, they already closed the date. So what? Write anyway. They'll probably reopen it for you. You're working with people, okay, not administration. Okay, next slide. Okay, then look at the partners. If they have legitimate partners like this event does, then you're going, okay, it's looking better. Starting to trust this, right? Hey, how many conferences announcements do you get every day? I get like 3 or 4. How many journals invite you to publish a day? I get at least 2. Usually a predatory journal asking me to pay a lot of money to do it. Okay. Publish in 3 days. I can't even send it to you in 3 days. Okay. Next slide. Call for papers. Look for the call for papers. Does it look professional? Right? Okay. Does it have all the themes? Does it talk about hybrid? Look for the date. Okay. Okay. But I had a great designer for this. I had a great designer. I had a buddy of mine at the university who was just a wizard at this stuff. Okay, next slide. Speakers, next slide. Do you recognize people? If you're starting to recognize people, then your trust level is going up. Okay? If you recognize somebody from your own colleges, communities, or then you're going, okay. And if you're starting to see some big names, okay. Next slide. If you start to recognize something like, Joe Maynard, CSOL Self-Access Journal. If you start to recognize Professor Sale from TESOL Journal, Christopher Theis from UCLA, okay? Naima Han from the Linguistics Journal. John Adamson from his journals, Professor Tirtha from his journals. If you start to recognize people, you gain some trust. Okay? But you got to be careful. Journal conferences can be dirty. They'll find a picture. Okay, you ever had a scam where somebody pretends to be someone else and they send you a picture, right? They're from some other weird country and they pretend to be a man instead of a woman and try to scam you out of lots of money. That's a big deal these days, right? Okay, well, guess what? Conferences do it too. They steal pictures and they put them up there, try to convince you they're legitimate. Okay, so be careful. But if everything else, if the whole package is starting to look good, then you're going, okay, not so bad, right? Okay, there's no grammar mistakes. Okay, next slide. Then you've got the speaker figure, like the president of COTESOL is there, right? Okay. The president of, who is she working with? And Katrina Manoff from Yuan Ying, or Call Asia, Joseph Colbert was with us. Okay, next slide. Okay, next slide. And then you look at the organizing board. Do you recognize the people? It's all about, do you recognize, okay? Are there legitimate people there? Next slide. And moderators, are they people in your area that you know? Because they usually are. The people from the university or other universities. And if you're feeling a little dodgy, you can call them up. Okay. Next slide. Next slide. Publications. Okay. Are they promising publication for X number of dollars? Run, do not walk. Okay. Are they offering the opportunity to submit with a thorough peer review? Okay, maybe. Is there no publication fee? It's starting to look okay, right? Now, is it okay to charge money for publications? Absolutely. Journals cost money to run, and Scopus does not care if they make money. Nobody works for free, ladies and gentlemen, and running a journal, let me tell you from experience, is a lot of work. Okay, what they care about is that the concern for academia and professionalism is more than the concern for money. Does that make sense? Okay, when you go to the supermarket, you want to know that you're getting good food, right? That they're not trying to sell you bad fruit just to make a buck. Think about it like that. If you can trust the fruit seller, you can trust the journal. Think about it on that range, okay? Now, you can put the name, how did we get here? Okay, you can put the name of the journal in Scopus. Okay, next slide. And you'll find it. So you can get, can you go back 2 slides? I don't know how you got here. Okay, this is good. All right, so we've got, you can look for language in Scopus and you'll find the journal. Next slide. And you'll find if the journal is discontinued. Now, if the journal says up to 2022 and it's 2023, it's probably still okay, as long as it doesn't say discontinued. Because Scopus only does that once or twice a year, and the journal may be annual or quarterly, and it just may not have caught up. Okay. See, this one says Scopus now. Okay. 2022. Okay. 2021. Well, think that I made this in 2021, but think that says 2022. It's probably still okay. Okay. Next slide. Okay. To present, that's always nice. Okay. Next slide. Okay. This is the Scopus source list. It's an Excel sheet. You can download it, and it'll tell you which journals have been recently delisted. and it'll tell you why, okay? Now, Scopus, I gotta be honest with you, does some funny stuff, and they're not always right. But at the end of the day, they make the rules. It's the golden rule. Those with the gold make the rules, and you don't get to fight it, okay? So next slide. Okay, this is the Web of Science. You can go in here. Next slide. This is the SJR. Okay, it's called Shimago. This is like a search engine for Scopus and Web of Science. Next slide. Okay, and you can find the ranking of the H index in order. Higher is better. Higher is better, okay? Okay, next slide. 0 is bad. Okay. Now, is 0 bad? Maybe not. Maybe it's just new. Okay? A lot of things to consider. But if it's been around for 5 years and it's still a 0, it's probably not going to be here next year. Okay? Next slide. Okay. Do you trust this? Call for papers, ISSN. Ooh, that looks good. Okay. Print. Ooh. Online. Ooh. I'm getting scared. Okay? It's not Scopus, it's not Index, and it wants to impress you because you don't know. You think that ISSN is cool. You can buy an ISSN for $50 US. Anybody with a credit card can get one in about 10 minutes. I'm not kidding, I've done it. I run conferences. I need an ISN or ISBN for my conference proceedings. I put a credit card, boom, I got one, we're done. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is the journal. It's indexed by cross-references. So what? It's indexed by Google Scholar. So what? That's not indexed. Google Scholar is a search engine. Okay? And they're trying to impress you by telling you a lot of stuff. There's nothing there. Okay, next slide. Okay, then it says, hey, look at all the places we're listed. You may be listed there, but you're not indexed there. Okay? The only two indexing that count today are Scopus and Web of Science. Now, what will count tomorrow? I don't know. And then we'll have to deal with them. But the rules today are Scopus and Web of Science. Okay? Do I ever publish in a non-indexed journal? Sure I do. Because remember, it's like a baby having to grow up and get married and have its own family. A journal has to be non-indexed before it becomes indexed. And that's a 2 to 5 year process. And it has to publish, and it has to have editions. Okay, and somebody has to submit to it for that to happen. Well, sometimes I'll do it just to help out the journal. Okay? Or I have a graduate student who wants to do it, and I'll come along. I'll help out. Okay? Next slide. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, what kind of presentations does the conference has? Is it a full presentation? Is it a workshop or a poster session? How many people have done a poster session in your life? They are so cool. Okay. How about a workshop? Okay, workshops are teaching-orientated presentations that have absolutely nothing to do with research, and that's where I spend most of my time at conferences. Because I want to learn fun stuff, right? Okay, so some conferences are certainly research-orientated, some are mixed, and some are pedagogy-orientated. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, what goes into your abstract? Well, you need the objectives, right? Sometimes you need the setting, but the background, but some journals no. You need the participants. Okay, next slide. You need the study method. Okay. I'm going to go fast because I'm going to give you this. All right. You need the findings and you need the conclusions. Next slide. But guess what? There are two different kinds. Really? Yeah, really. Okay. One of them is structured and it's like a paragraph. The other one is each section in its own little bullet. Exactly the same words, just separated. And guess what? Some journals want A and some journals want B, and you better follow along or they won't let you in. Does that make sense? Look, if you submit to a journal and it doesn't look like you read the submission guidelines, they're not going to read your paper. Why should they? You didn't read theirs. Okay. Next slide. So this is what a structured looks like. It'll say context, aim, method, results, conclusion, just like that, separate, okay? Next slide. This is what an unstructured looks like. Same information, but bulleted. Does that make sense? First time you saw that? How many people first time? Great. How many people think I'm speaking Chinese? Okay. Next slide. This is the publication manual. Look, I appreciate that different places have different rules, but at the end of the day, they make the rules. Other people can change them, they can interpret them, they can do whatever they want, but these guys make the rules, okay? Get to know the book because that's what you can argue with. I have to submit my papers to somebody who's never published a research article. Heck, they've never read one. And they come up with all these rules about whether or not they're going to pay me. And they make me nuts. And then I have to spend days and weeks coming up with stuff. Okay, next slide. Okay, your abstract should go under verb tenses. Each part should be in a different verb tense. If it's not, you're not going to. Okay, listen, I get about one paper a week or more from a journal. And I get to choose, do I have the time to, to review it or edit it or whatever. And sometimes more. And I look at the abstract and I decide, I'm not given the whole paper a lot of the times. I'm given just the abstract. Would you take this? And I have to decide just by looking at the abstract whether or not I'm going to take the responsibility. Boom. Okay. If it's a good abstract, it gets past the door. If it's a bad abstract, it doesn't get past the door, no matter how good the article is. So some people don't spend enough time writing up the abstract well because they're in a hurry, because they got it done. I just want to go. So next. Okay, next slide. This is the APA style guide. It's online. It's exactly like the book, okay? And it has the guidelines. Remember I told you all the different types of articles? Quantitative, qualitative, mixed methods, all special designs. The abstracts are a little bit different for each one. And this website will tell you exactly in a checklist format what you need to put in each one. Does that make sense? Okay, next slide. Okay, so that's kind of small, but that says primary, experimental, non-experimental, special. If you click that, it'll open up into a PDF and it'll give you a checklist. Next slide. And that's what it looks like. Okay? And this is a simple one. This is just a simple one. And it tells you right here what they want in it. And then it tells you every part of the paper what's supposed to be in it. Does that make sense? Look, when you go to the post office, what do you expect to get? Stamps, maybe? Letters, envelopes, right? Hamburger? Probably not, right? When you go to Pizza Hut, do you expect to get chicken? No, right? Well, you might these days. But at the end of the day, if you don't match this up, you don't meet the journal's expectations, you're not going much further. Because nobody has the time to teach you how to write. You need to know how to do it when you walk in the door. The reviewer, a reviewer will give you 3 reviews usually. 3. If it goes to 4, the journal and the review are just getting a headache from you. Okay? So when they're reading it, if they think it'll go for 3, they might take it on. If they think it's going to go 5, 6, 7, and 8, no. Okay? Next slide. Next slide. Okay. This is for a paper. Okay? This is for a paper, just like we talked about, for a conference. Okay? Nothing special. We just looked at that. Next slide. Workshop. What's the difference?
Remember, the abstract was written in different verb tenses. It had, objectives, methods, results, stuff. What's this one about? It's what the workshop is going to do for you, right? You could write it in the future, you could write it in the present simple. But the abstract for the paper was written in other verb tenses, right? Now listen, some journals use the first person, I. Is that okay? Yeah. It's their journal. They can do whatever they want. Hey, golden rule. They got the gold, they make the rules. Okay. Next slide. Posters. Now, I love poster sessions. They are fun. Okay. And this is an abstract. Usually a poster session is like your 3-chapter defense for your master's or PhD. It just goes to the methods and shows what you expect to find. So it's a lot of fun to bring it there. And it's great for graduate students. It's a first step into a conference. I know professors, though, that still do it, and they give their entire findings and results and everything there. And they get funding from the university to go to someplace cool. Okay. Next slide. Okay, on your PowerPoint, these are the things you need to have. Okay, but on the poster session, it stops at number 3. Okay, and then it says what I expect to find. Okay, next slide. This is what a poster session looks like. Does that look like fun? Yeah, you make this really cool poster with all the different sections of your paper. It says, objectives, methods, and outlines your paper, and then you stand there and you talk to people about it. And they give you ideas of what's clear and what's not clear. And basically, they're your audience before you actually write the paper. Does that make sense? Sounds like fun. Okay. Next slide. So there it is. That's what a poster looks like. And they're large. They're big things. Okay. And schools like to do this. And they put them on tripods. And it's a graduate student's first introduction to writing, or a young researcher's first introduction. And it builds confidence. Okay. Next slide. Okay, click here to submit your abstract. Next slide. Okay, submission guidelines. Do you need to read the submission guidelines? Carefully. Very carefully. You start doing stuff you're not supposed to. If you're not going to read my submission guidelines, why should I read your paper? Because you're going to make a lot of work for me that I just frankly don't need. Okay, next slide. Preprints. Now, are you allowed to put up a paper before it's published? Yeah, you own it. Until you sign that copyright off to the journal, you own it. And you own every draft up to the last minute. Even when they send you that proof, before it gets published, you can put preprint on the front of it and upload it. It's still yours. Even if you didn't pay for it, it's closed access, it's still yours. And that will increase your citation counts. Because once it goes behind a closed library door, your citation count goes, okay? I'm not kidding. Open access produces citation counts, closed access, well, it was nice, fun writing it. Okay, next slide. Okay, so you put your name in there. Be careful when you do this because that's how it's going to show up on their website. Okay? Take it seriously. Okay. Next slide. Put your abstract in there. If it says 200 words, it better be 200 words because the computer is counting. Sorry. 201. Oh, come on. 200. Okay? Okay. And how many words should your title be? Do they want 10? Well, guess what? They want 10. Okay, or they want 12, or they want 8, or whatever they want. Don't go over it. Okay, next slide. Keywords. How many keywords? Now, I'll tell you how to choose keywords later. Take this seriously, okay, because that's how people find your paper. That's what increases your citation counts. And I'll show you a trick how to bump that up in a little while. Okay, next slide. Okay. How many authors do you have? Guys, I'll tell you what, a lot of conferences, every author you have, they require to pay as a presenter. So if you got a 60 US presenter fee, you just got $180 if you've got authors. So be careful about adding your friends to a paper they didn't write. You're going to pay for it. Okay. Basically, just don't do it. Okay. Next slide. Okay. And then you check your area. Okay. Because they're going to see what area it is as they start to give it out to reviewers. So take it seriously. Next slide. Okay. Then they give you a checklist. Take it seriously. The title has, uses title caps. There's a star next to the corresponding author. By the way, who gets mailed? Who does the journal mail? The first author or the corresponding author? Right. Right. Now, sometimes they'll CC the first author if you want them to. Trust me, I don't. I want one person getting it, one person dealing with it. It gets confusing. Okay. Next slide. Okay. A bio. Do you have a bio? Okay. The bio that was read about me today, about a little 50-word thing, you need to create a really professional bio and pop it up there. Get a professional photo, too. Oftentimes they're going to ask. Okay. Next slide. And you submit it. Now, can you ask questions? Sure, this is a conference. This is not a journal, right? Write a journal and ask, I'm sorry, sir, you've had my paper for 3 weeks. When are you going to give me an answer? Right now. Reject. Okay, next slide. What is needed? Sometimes conferences only want an abstract. Sometimes they want a full paper. It's up to you, right? Okay, no, unfortunately, sometimes they want what they want and you have to read. Or sometimes they give you a choice. Look, I got to be honest with you. When I go to a conference, I'm not looking to publish in their proceedings. I'm just happy to present my abstract, have a good time, get some ideas, and then I'll publish my paper in a journal, unless their conference proceedings are Scopus indexed. And in my field, there's only 4 conferences that are. 4. Okay, next slide. Keys to success. Read the submission guidelines, stay within the word count, structure and language. Grammarly Professional is your friend. Use it, okay? Citation, APA. Complete the revisions early and on time, okay? And register on time. Yes, you can register late. Don't do it. It gets more expensive. Okay, next slide. Review process. You submit your paper, it goes to the editor, he makes a decision, out or in, sends it to peer review, okay? And it can go round and round and round until it gets there, okay? And the reviewer can kick it back. Now, sometimes the editor will disagree with the reviewer. Who's a reviewer? Are they gods? No, they're you and me, right? Are they always qualified? No. Okay? They're just somebody who agreed to do it because the editor, the journal was desperate and they signed up. Poor you, you have to deal with them, okay? But sometimes the editor will go, oh man, this is ridiculous, okay? And they'll bump them and get a new one in. But normally, this is how it goes. You can get accept, which never happens. I think it's only happened once. In my career, I've had one paper, they said, thank you, we're done. They gave it back fast. They wanted it. I was really surprised and I was extremely happy because I loved this paper. I spent like a year writing it, okay? I copyrighted it before I sent, I called a lawyer and copyrighted it before I sent it out because I cared so much about this paper. Apparently they liked it. Or it might go request for minor, major, or reject and resubmit. Now, if you get a reject and resubmit, should you resubmit? Absolutely. They're willing to talk to you, okay? But if they say reject, sorry, we're done, click, okay. Don't bother them again because they won't talk to you, okay? Next, preparing to present in-person, full paper workshop or poster, online, full paper or workshop. Now, I hear these days that posters are coming online. I personally never attended one. I'm looking forward to it. Next slide. Okay, look at the conference program schedule, but unfortunately that's usually not published till about a week before the conference. Okay, next slide. Sometimes you can see who the sponsors are, and if you are with an organization, you can pay money to sponsor. Next slide. Believe it or not, COVID is still an issue in some parts of the world. Check the regulations, check the visa regulations. Like when I came to Indonesia yesterday, or I'm sorry, 4 days ago, I thought I had no visa because the website said that. I come in, sir, you need a visa, pay over there. Oh man, okay. So I bought a visa. Okay, next slide. Okay, look at the help desk. See if there's somebody you can talk to, and then try it. See if there's somebody really there. And if there isn't, we might have a problem. Okay, next slide. Hotels. They'll usually get a really good discount, like 10 or 15 or 20%. So you might want to stay there. Okay, next slide. Okay, next slide. Okay, you're also going to get a certificate. Now, I don't know about you. My job requires that I go to a lot of conferences each year. And I need these silly certificates, right? Okay, maybe you do too. Next job. Next slide. Publishing in academic journals. Let's move on from the conferences, okay? Next slide. Look. The gatekeeper is a reviewer or an editor, right? What's the best way to learn what a reviewer or editor does? Go become one. Volunteer to be a reviewer for a journal. You can see them online, you know, when they're asking for reviewers, submit your name, okay? Reviews for some journals, they'll train you. They'll train you. They'll let you into their website and show you the rubrics and all kinds of stuff. Sometimes they even have a video training program to teach you how to do it. Publons has one. Web of Science has one. And it's good. Okay, next slide. Okay, there it is. Take the training course, okay? There you go. It was in my head. Some journals have mentoring programs where you work under a senior, okay? Learn how to do it. Next slide. Join a conference committee. I remember I was 25 years old when I first, maybe I was 28, when I joined my first conference committee, right? I had no idea what I was doing. And there stood Rod Ellis. Anybody know who Rod Ellis is? In the English committee? He was like the big guy, right? And there was Stephen Krashen. And I went, I was just a kid. Okay, next slide. Write daily. How many people write daily? I do. I get up early in the morning and I start writing before my wife wakes up because she's not there. And it's quiet. I know, don't tell her, okay? Okay, next slide. You need a place that's quiet that you can write. That's your space, right? Mine is 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. My wife's not there, okay? Or after she goes to work. Okay, next slide. Read regularly. Read journals regularly. Pick a topic you like and just start working through it. And notice, just like when you were doing your dissertation, about who's being cited, the type of methods, the structure, yada, yada, yada. Okay, because there's a reading-writing relationship. More you read, the better you write. Okay, next slide. Where to publish? Next slide. Okay, school journals are fine. Trust me, your boss wants you to publish in the school journal. Do it. Okay. All right. Web of Science, Scopus. Okay. Non-index journals? Sometimes. Sometimes. But it's not going to help you unless it's on your list of okays. So check your list of okays. All right. Next slide. Types of articles. Same thing we looked at before. Same thing for conference. Same thing for research. But I just put it there so you'd know. And by the way, there's reports. Okay. Next slide. Who do you write with? Next slide. Same people, just like before, okay? Next slide. What does it all mean?
Means the same thing. Okay? Next slide. How does publishing help you? Means the same thing. Next slide. How to choose a journal? Different. Next slide. Things move fast. Authors have agenda, and there's inclusion criteria. Okay? It shouldn't say authors. It should say editors and journals. Okay? Next slide. Okay. In the old days, they would, even nowadays, journals will publish this list of cool journals that you should publish in. Guess what? Their name is always on it. Okay? No, don't do that. But people who are not experienced, oh, look, there it is. And they try for that, and they feel bad because they didn't get in. Okay, next slide. Okay. This is one. Man, this just made me nuts. This guy published this article, and it said published left, right, and center, but it left out the majority of the good journals, just his favorites, right? Reviewers' best picks, basically. Next slide. This guy, oh, this was terrific. Just published a few years ago. Well, it was 2004. Sorry, I thought that was a new one. And they wanted to promote Asia TEFL Journal. So Asia TEFL Journal was in there. Don't do that. That's like a reviewer for Coca-Cola from the Coca-Cola company. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is a better way to do it. Next slide. Same thing, okay? But this time, you type in a key word like language or whatever your field is, okay? I type language because that's kind of me. Next slide. Boosh! I got all this stuff to start looking at, right? I know their Scopus indexed, okay? Next slide. I can tell if it's discontinued immediately, right? Next slide. I can look at the source list immediately. It's all right there. Next slide. I can open it. Now, if it says active, it's active. It says inactive, it's gone. Now, down below there where you can't see, there's another one that says discontinued, and they all come up. And they discontinue a lot each year. I mean a lot. I know journals that have been indexed for 14 or 20 years that gone. Just like that. But I was publishing it. Sorry. Okay. Next. Okay. You can also filter it by your field. That's kind of nice. Okay. Next slide. You can go to Web of Science. Same idea. You can type in language. Okay. Next slide. Now, over here, you can tell out the Web of Science coverage. Next slide. Okay, they lied to you. Look, journals are businesses, right? They market to the unknown. What is ESCI? That means you and your friend wrote a letter and said, please consider this journal, and they put it in there. It means nothing. It means it's just on the list, and hopefully in 4 or 5 years or never, it might get in. It means nothing. And sometimes it's on there and it isn't even in Scopus. So some schools have a rule that has to be in both. Okay, usually you get into Scopus and you get into Web of Science. Okay, you also have SCI, you have AHCI, you have, but not ESCI, okay? ESCI is like throwing your money out the car window. You'll never see it again. Okay, next slide. Okay, now you can see how fast the journal publishes. Some journals publish every month. Is that okay? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm talking really high-ranking SCI journals publish every month. Now, I know you didn't know that, right? Some publish every 2 months. Okay? They do. Some publish weekly. I'm not kidding. Right? Nobody ever told you that, right? So click on it and see which ones do what and filter what you want. Now, the nice thing about a journal that publishes monthly, usually it has a faster return time. Quarterly journals have faster return times than yearly journals. Okay? In other words, they're going to reject your paper faster.
okay? You'll submit it, and within 2 weeks, they'll say sorry, okay? But the 1 year journals will take like 4 months to say I'm sorry, okay? Okay. Next. You can put it in here, Shimago. Next. And you'll get the H index. Higher H index is better. I told you that, right? Okay. Next slide. Lower index is bad, right? So you see the Q4s are down there, and the higher ones are Q1s. Q4, Q3, Q2, 1, right? It's not an exact science, I gotta be honest, but it's pretty close. Next. Okay, now this is how it looks. Like the TESOL Quarterly is in social science and education linguistics. Now, in education, it's this ranking, and linguistics, it's this ranking. It's not the same. So you have to choose which one you're going to submit to your evaluation board. Yeah, nobody told you that, huh? Boom. Okay, next slide. Okay, you can also, when you're looking at a paper in your area, you can see who cited your hero, okay, your crush, so to speak, and you can find out which journals they published in. You might get a swing. You might get lucky, okay? Next. Navigating the submission process. Next. Okay, this is one that I did, and I had a lot of fun with it, okay? This is a portal. There's lots of portals. By the way, if anybody wants to start their own journal, it's really easy. It's not hard, okay? You can download OJS for free and have your own operating system in about 10 minutes, okay? And then all you have to do is host it somewhere, make a few changes, and you have a portal. Get a website, get a few friends, you got a journal. It's not that hard, okay? Do schools ever have their own journals? Yeah. Are school journals ever SCI and Scopus Index? Yeah. Anybody can have a journal. A buddy of mine said, hey, me and 3 friends got together last year and opened a journal. Yeah, good for you. They did it over pizza. Asian AFL Journal, anybody know it? Hey, 3 buddies got together over coffee one night and started 9 journals. 20 years ago. Doing really well now. Okay, so you submit it, next, and you read the submission checklist. Okay, next. You click through it. Submission requirements, next. You submit it, it's submitted, and you wait. And you hope, and you get nervous, and you pray it doesn't come back fast, right? Please, just 2 weeks, please. Oh no, right? Okay, next. And then you get an editor decision. And it goes round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, round 6, right? Now this journal, they decided they were gonna edit it, they were gonna accept it like round 3. But one editor didn't like a comma. You know, I think you want to change that comma. Round 4, okay? I think you want to choose this word, round 5. Yeah, this went on for 9 months, but it was an excellent journal. Okay, next slide. Then it goes to copy edited files, where they send you the paper and you get to read it and check it. Okay, next slide. And then you have to do acknowledgments, and then they send it to production, and you wait. But at this stage, you can say it's in press, and you can upload a preprint on lots of different servers, because you want to upload everywhere to increase your citation count. The more people will see it, the more people will cite it, the higher your citation count goes. Next. Okay, who are the publishers and what does it cost? Next slide. Okay, these are the big boys on the left. Elsevier owns Scopus. How many Scopus journals, how many Elsevier journals get delisted? Like never, right? Come on now. The publisher owns the regulator. The regulator's not going to delist the publisher, okay? But they'll delist the other publishers, okay? So if you publish with the big boys, they have like 800 to 3,000 journals. Chances are you're not going to be in trouble. If you publish with the little guys, some is 5, you may or may not be in trouble. Check the publisher. But if it's just one journal, like a university journal, they've been around for a long time, things are looking pretty good, you're probably pretty safe. They're not in it for a lot of money. Okay, next journal. Publishing is a business. Somebody has to pay for that article. Look, guys, computers cost money, websites cost money, secretaries cost money. Okay, it costs a lot of money and time to run a journal. Operating that website, administration, it's a full-time job. And journals have staff, especially the big companies. They got huge numbers of staff. That's why they'll charge, you know, $300 to $5,000 US. Okay. But sometimes the library pays, sometimes the authors pay, and sometimes the authors' affiliations pay. If it's a library paying, you don't. But you don't get the copyright, and it's closed access. So you need something like SCI Hub to hack it to get it back. Okay. Are we recording? Okay. Next slide. Closed access, no fee, but no citations. Open access, no fee, high citations. Okay. Open access fee, 20 to 40 USD to 5,000 USD. I know some that are even higher. Okay. There's gold, green, hybrid, transformational, which means they're switching over. So always read the submission guidelines carefully before you submit, because you don't want to waste time submitting a paper and then you're stuck on the hook. Now here's some good news. Here's some good news. I got a surprise the other day. I thought I was going to pay $1,500 US for a journal, and I got a letter, Dr. Baker, your fee has been waived. Who do I know? Who's my friend? You know, they said, yes, you're from Vietnam. That's on our list of World Bank countries. You're free. Whoa. I didn't check that.
Sorry, John.
Yeah.
10 minutes left.
How much?
10.
Next slide, next slide, next slide. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm just kidding. All right. All right. So sometimes it's more expensive. Okay. Next slide. Okay. What are the impact factors? This is your impact factor over here from Google Scholar. I thought I had 2 hours. Didn't I have 2 hours? Oh, man. Okay, next slide. How to increase your index? You put your journal, you put your article in all these places so people can find it. Okay? Next slide. You post preprints. Next slide. Academic search engines. Choose titles, keywords carefully by looking at other articles that have high citation counts. Okay? Search optimization. Next slide. Next slide. Doing the research. Oh my God, we're never going to get there. You sure we only have 10 minutes? I thought I had 2 hours, man. Okay, next slide. Next slide. Okay, type of articles, we're going to cover them all. Next slide. Why are we here today? Research articles. That's all we're talking about. Next slide. Okay, are all icebergs the same? No. What's the one thing they have in common? They're cold and they wreck ships, right? Okay, next slide. Today we're going to talk about quantitative. Are they the same? Nope, nope, nope. Okay, next slide.
Oh, you have 30 minutes.
I have 30. Sorry, okay, all right. Okay. I'm sorry. Next slide. Okay, the standard model for a, because we'll make 30 minutes and have time for questions. Okay, so this is I can go slow now. Okay, this is the outline for a quantitative, okay? And that's in that APA list that I showed you. You need to follow it. Next slide. But guess what? Different journals do it differently. But the APA says I have to do it that way. No, the journal owns the journal. Golden rule. Those with the gold makes the rules. So sometimes they put the introduction and the conclusion together. Sometimes they put the discussion and the conclusion together. Sometimes they separate those into sections. You need to look at the submission guidelines and look at the journals to see how they do it. And you need to follow it, because if you don't follow it, you're not going to get in. Okay, next slide. Okay, a more successful submission is look at the submission guides before you submit. Next slide. Okay, keep it simple. Next slide. The title. Okay. Be Barney or be Bones, and I mean it. Okay? Here you go. Identify the main variables, identify the population, understand the 3 types of titles. Question, 2-part keyword for those of you who've done academic writing. Okay? Keywords most common. Okay? Explore the highly cited articles in your area and follow it. Now, I know a guy, there was an article called Exploring the Writing Center or something like that. It was published by North in 1984. Most popular article in my field, okay? Somebody wrote Exploring the Asian Writing Center. Wanted to get on board, right? Guess what? She's the second most popular one now. Okay, next. Okay, affiliation. Put your affiliation on there. Use your university email. Do not use your commercial email. It will not be respected. Next. Okay, how many keywords do you get? You get what they tell you you get, and no more. Okay? And make sure that you use a comma or a semicolon or whatever they tell you to use. Make sure you bold it and capitalize it whatever way they tell you according to the journal. They're all different. And they're right if they do it that way. If you don't do it that way, you're wrong. Okay. Know how they're formatted. Search engine optimization. You can look that up. There's a way to do that. Okay. Next slide. We covered this earlier. Next slide. Okay. What goes into the abstract? Same stuff. Okay. But I'm just showing it again to let you know so you don't get confused. Next slide. Next slide. You got to speed up, man. I only got 30 minutes. Next slide. Okay. Don't forget the impact factor. The impact factor. Okay? Use the keywords. So your title, okay, and your keywords, and then you want to repeat those keywords in your abstract as many times as you can, because those search engines pick up those words in the abstract. And when I search for something, if this guy only has the keyword in the title, okay, he's going to do better than the guy that has the keywords in the title and the keywords. But if this guy has it in the title, abstract several times, and the keyword, he's going to be the first one popped up. Does that make sense? Okay. You want to know another trick? Okay. If you're ever running a website, hide words inside the HTML in the same color, and they'll find it faster. Conferences do that. I do that at my conferences. Okay, next slide. Introduction and literature review. Next slide. Okay, this is what goes in it. Sometimes the literature review and the introduction are together. So you state the problem, you review the relevant scholarship, you provide a succinct review. Now, your master's degree was not a succinct review. Your PhD was not a succinct review. Talked about this study, talked about this study, oh boy. Okay? A article does a, how do you say this? They craft a fluid narrative. Okay? And I'll show you 3 or 4 or 5 different ways to do it now. Okay. Keep it current, but if there are seminal studies in your field that are very important, make sure you cite them, right? Crash in 1985. It was 1984. It was crashing. You know, it was Chomsky. I got to cite him, right? Okay. Now, should you pack citations? What I mean is, should you have 3 or 4 or 5 citations in one set of parentheses? Don't do it. There's really no need to, okay? Unless you're really trying to show that research was done. But if you're just doing it to be cool, don't do it, because your reference list is going to get really long. You're going to annoy the editor, okay? They're not going to like it. Okay. The introduction, literature review are sometimes together, sometimes they're not. Take a look at what's done in the journal and follow. Okay, next slide. Okay, there are 2 patterns here, 3 patterns. You can do the search process, theoretical, empirical, search process, empirical, theoretical, empirical, or just empirical, okay? It all depends on the type of work you're doing and what's going on in your field, okay? That's why I say you need to read a lot of the other papers, okay? Next slide. Aims, objective, research questions, and hypotheses. Are research questions and hypotheses different? Right? Okay. What's this? Honey, do you love me? Yes. Hypothesis, right? Okay. All right. Yes or no, right? How much do you love me? Stop while you're ahead. Okay. All right. Research question, right? Okay. Research question is an exploration. Hypothesis is a yes or a no. I mean, I can give you real examples, but I think that works. Okay. All right. Can you have research questions only? Yes. Can you have hypothesis only? Yes. Can you have research questions and hypotheses? Yes. Up to you. Okay. Now, remember, editors do things, reviewers do things the way somebody taught them to do it, so you may get in a battle with them sometimes. Try not to get into a battle. Okay. Next slide. Next slide. State the objectives clearly and the hypotheses, your primary and secondary, and your other plan, and state how the research questions and the design and the hypotheses relate to each other. Now, what's really cool, you remember in your master's thesis that you had a diagram? Sometimes you can do that. Not always. Okay? Look at the journal. Look at the journal. Okay? Next. Keep it simple. Next. Okay. Describe the settings and locations carefully. Go back to that APA list that I showed you, and it'll show you every part that needs to go in there. Don't just do it, I'm done. Go check, did you meet all the things that you were supposed to meet? Okay. Next slide. Sampling procedures. Was it a convenience sample? Was it a non-random sample? Was it a purposive sample? Okay. What kind of sample did you do? You need to tell them. You need to tell them how you do it explicitly. And I'm not talking a whole paragraph. It can be done in half a sentence. Okay. You need to talk about the percentage of people that you approached and the percentage of people that actually participated. Okay. Okay. And then the people who started and the people didn't finish, right? That's later. Okay. And where did it study? Where did the selection happen? By individuals, by units, schools, or clinics? Large. Okay. Next slide. Inclusion or exclusion? Did you exclude undergraduate students and only take graduate students? Did you exclude people over 65? Come on, be nice to us old guys, okay? All right. Did you exclude other people or other data for some reason? You need to report that. And yes, of course you did, because you're focusing on Generation Z or Generation whatever. You didn't want the others, right? What's the new generation? A right now? No, Generation Z was before, but now it's A, right? From 3 to 17? Yeah? Okay. I published a paper about Generation Z, but then I realized I better hurry. Kids are getting old. Okay, next. Okay, motivating participants. Is it okay to pay participants? Absolutely. But you cannot pay them an amount that they would do something they normally wouldn't do. Okay? You find a homeless guy, you promise him $50 to do something that he really shouldn't do medically, and he does it because he's hungry. Is that ethical? No. That's what we're talking about, okay? Okay, ethics. Every university has an IRB board, International Review Board, okay? Journals nowadays are being kind of sticky about that they want that some board somehow said that you didn't hurt somebody. Unless you're dealing with just data. Okay, then it's not a big deal, like archival data or something like that. But you have to deal with real people, you may have to put an ethics statement in there. Okay, it's no big deal. You get 3 or 4 administrators to read your paper, we're done, okay? Next slide. Sample sizes. So often people don't check the sample size before they start the paper, and they don't realize when they're done, they're gonna have nothing, because their statistical analysis isn't going to show the power that it needed to. So you need to check that your sample size was sufficient before you start. And how do you do it? Website, okay, or program. G-Power is pretty cool for this. Okay. If you're doing structural equation modeling, then you can just use the 10-item method or the Sapori method or some other methods. But the G-Power is pretty good for most things. Okay, next slide. By the way, G-Power is free. You can download it. Have you used G-Power, anybody? It's kind of cool. All right, measures and covariates, okay? You got to tell us what all of them are, and then you have to describe your methods that you use to collect the data, and then you have to talk about the quality of your measurements. Maybe you have to report the Cronbach alpha, okay? Look, editors aren't stupid. Well, not all of them. I mean, some of them are not quantitative people, you know, and you might pass something past them, but sometime you're going to get a reviewer that, whoa, that's all wrong. So often I get a paper and I look at it and I go, that's impossible, right? And then I write them back and I'm saying, that's impossible. That's A and B are not matching up, okay? So they're going to check, was the Cronbach alpha right? Were the other things right? Okay. Okay, is your T-score and your P-score, do they match up? Because sometimes people will just put numbers in because they feel good, right? We know, okay? Next slide. How did you validate things? How did you validate your instrument? Was it validated before in another study? In other words, did you borrow your survey from another study? Or, and that's okay, as long as they tested it, okay? But you might have had to do a pilot test, or did you create it yourself, and did you have to go through the long process of creating it, okay, with the pilot sample? First you get the experts to go through it, then you have the pilot sample, and then you do an exploratory factor analysis, and blah, 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 and you get there, and then you give it out, okay, and the reviewer. Okay, do you mask? Do you mask? In other words, you took away all the names or whatever to protect the people, right? Did you give them numbers? You better do something because you'll get confused. Okay, next slide. Psychometrics. Did you, back to the Cronbach alpha, did you report this? Did you report convergent and discriminant validity? Especially with PLS, okay? Okay. Did you report these estimates? Now, on the bottom, did you report the demographic characteristics of other samples or the samples you used? Okay. All right. Next. Analysis. What kind of study are you doing? Quantitative. Well, which method? SPSS. Okay. SPSS is a tool, like a car. It gets you from point A to point B. Guess what? All of those other methods do it too. All those others do exactly the same thing. Guess what? You can do everything in Excel almost that you can do with SPSS. Yeah. Guess one I like? DataTab. Anybody use DataTab? Rocks. Because not only does it analyze it, it gives you a description in words that helps you make sense of it. And they have training videos. Totally cool. Okay, next slide. Okay, describe how you did the primary, secondary, and exploratory. Very carefully, okay? Next slide. Okay, choose the right tool for the job. So many times somebody will give me a paper and they chose the wrong tool for the job. Okay, Who knows the difference between a one sample t-test, a pair sample t-test, and an independent sample t-test? They're different, right? Okay. Correlation is different, right? ANOVA is different, right? Okay, some people, they just do stuff. Okay. Next slide. Here's a chart. It tells you what do you want to do and which test you might want to use. Okay? Now, by the way, there's a guy called Bogdan, okay, on Udemy. He does an SPSS course. This guy's fantastic. Okay? He'll walk you through everything for $3 US. Okay. Next slide. Next slide. Keep the results. You have to report the flow. So if you had 500 participants that you went after, 300 responded, but you only could use 250 because the data was bad because it wasn't cleaned. You had straight liners, they went too fast. You need to report that, okay? All right. Do you know how to clean data? Okay, if you're using a Likert scale, 7, 7, 7, 7, and somebody goes 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Okay, how do you take that out? Use a standard deviation. Anything at 0 automatically pops out. Anything below 0.05 may pop out. You take it out because they're called speeders or straight liners. If you use a timer like on Qualtrics or SOGO Survey Pro, and you have a survey that should take 15 minutes, but they took 2, that's called a speeder. You take it out, and you report that you took it out. If not, it's going to screw up your data terribly and your results. Okay. Next. Inferential statistics. Okay. Report the exact p-values. Okay. The exact p-values. Some people try to round them off and things like that. Just report them. Okay. Now, what about this? It approached significance. No, it was significant or it wasn't. Okay. By the way, you want to know a trick? Larger samples get better p-samples, p-tests, p-values. It's easier to have a statistical p-value with larger samples. It just is. Okay. All right. Have a clear differentiation between the effect size, co-and-D, and the differentiation between the primary and the secondary. So you report the primary and the secondary. 1A, 1A, 1B, 2, 2A, 2B. Okay? Now some people report 1, 2, 3, and then they'll go 1A, 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 2A, 2A, 2A. Whatever you do, keep it organized. Okay? Next slide. Okay. How many people use Smart PLS? Okay, you know, right? But you're not in the language field, right? Right. Okay. The humanities haven't been using this yet, but it's pretty awesome, right? Okay. It's a very, very complex, simple to use, okay, that talks about interconnected relationships and causal descriptive. And it shows so we used to use just linear regression that shows relationships between independent and dependent variables, but structural equation model shows connections between things. It's very nice. Okay, what else do you need to know? If you have any problems with your data, you want to report that in your limitations. There was a reason this came out. The sample size was low, or there was a break in collection because of COVID-19, or whatever, right? Okay, next. Discussion. In the discussion, you have to go back and report the research questions in order. First you give the objective, then you report the research questions, and you answer those in the discussion. Then you put the literature from the literature review, nothing new, from the literature review that either agreed or disagreed with your findings. Okay? Keep it short. But don't go out and start fluffing in new things, because the editor will have no patience for this. Okay? All right. Similarity and results, okay? Now, after you reported that, you interpret it. You tell them what you think it meant. Okay? All right. Next. Generalizability. You have to say, if you did a study in Indonesia, how generalizable do you think it's going to be to other populations? Usually you kind of hedge and say, well, more research needs to be done. Okay? But you have to report that. Okay? And then you have the implications for future study. Okay? Oh, by the way, limitations, you also do suggestions for future research. Okay, next slide. Going a little deeper. Next slide. One size fits all. No, you can't do it. Okay? Next. Read the journal. Next. Do something different. I always put that in there because, but that's not what the poem means, right? It means I took the other way, but that's not really what it means. Okay, next. Okay. Look to other fields for cool methods that your field is not using and apply them. You will shock the editors and they'll get excited about it, right? Like in the language field right now, anybody who does PLS, even on an old study, they go, ooh, right? And they publish it immediately. Okay. So these are some cool ones. Experimental designs, non-random assignments, clinical trials, non-experimental designs. Next. Special designs. You can try some of these. Okay. Next. Have we covered it all? No, we haven't. Because they're different for qualitative, they're different for mixed, they're different theoretical. But that APA website that I showed you has everything we just talked about for each and every one. Hey guys, I just taught probably a 2-semester research design course in 2 hours. Okay? That's not bad. Okay? But that APA website that I showed you will outline everything with that checklist right in there. Okay, next slide. Research methods are fun, but they're always changing, so you got to stay up with them. I read a paper the other day about the Delphi method. Does anybody know about that? Yeah, it went out of fashion in the 1960s. Okay, but this guy brought it back, and all the editors went, "Ooh, how cool! Never heard of that." Okay, so we published it. Okay. All right, next. Okay. Next slide, please. This was a presentation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it has been such an honor. What I hope is that you'll try some of these things. I know I had to talk fast, but everything is in the PowerPoint. It's there for you. Go through it slowly. Enjoy your publishing journeys. Publish together. Have a lot of fun. I believe my WhatsApp is there. And someone here at the university, I'm not sure who, will work with me to get you this PowerPoint in the coming week. Okay? Is that fair? Okay. I just came from Pakistan a few days ago. I'm off to Jakarta in a few days, and then I'm off to Thailand, and I'll come home November 30th. But I'm going to be a little busy. But I promise to get this to you in about 7 days. Okay. To the Vice Rector, to the Rector, to Dr. Wisma, to everyone who organized, our volunteers, okay, our wonderful, wonderful moderators, thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing all of your names in publications, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you again. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so there are some questions, Jones, actually.
Okay.
About,
Do we have time for questions?
yeah, have a seat, please, first.
Okay. I think we have like 15 minutes? 15?
Okay.
So, what do we got for questions? Talk to me. Hey,
No,
hi,
no,
somebody,
yeah,
bring,
okay,
somebody
okay.
bring that nice lady a microphone. Do we have one?
Okay.
Do I have one? I'll bring it to her. I don't mind bringing it to her.
If
I
you have
just-
questions in Bahasa Indonesia, that's okay. I will help you to say to him.
Is there any more microphone? Oh my
Right.
God. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Becker. Nice to see you again. My question is about IRB because I'm very interested about that, and more people talk about that too. IRB. So my question is, my name is Perti. I'm from the Faculty of Education and Teacher Training.
She did it.
Yes.
Okay. An
From English
IRB
department.
is anybody who's done a master's degree or thesis, when they got to the proposal stage, they had to go on IRB.
Yes. My
Okay.
question is.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. My question is, if we know the IRB is or ethical clearance is
Yeah.
for medical studies, right?
Right.
What about us from social science? Are we
Sorry.
required to? And how about if we have like IRB? Does IRB influence our submission to highly ranked journals? Thank you very much. That's my question.
You're going to have to make a statement to the journal, and oftentimes they'll actually. Now, I'm not saying all the time it'd be impossible because there's so many different journals, right? But sometimes the journal will just ask for that statement, and sometimes they'll ask for you to put a statement in the article, and sometimes they won't. Remember, every journal's different. Okay, just expect it and be ready for it. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Hi.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak John. Okay, I was interested with the. Introduce myself. My name is Woki Bilyaro. I was from Animal Husbandry Study Program. I was interested with the one of type of the article that is the review article. Review article. Review article. Yeah, review article. Yeah. I think if you have no data to write about, and then no sponsor to conduct research or study, I think something that can be done is to make an article review. That's right.
Okay. Black, white, tall, short.
Yeah.
Salt, pepper. Research article with data and methods. Review article.
Yeah.
Okay. Review article has a wide coverage. Okay. But then there's teaching articles.
Okay.
Now, sometimes your funding committee, okay, will require the words research article or review article on the journal or somewhere, or they won't pay you. Now, as an author, okay, you can actually put the word review article in your article in case the journal doesn't, to get that by your people. Because you know it's a research article, you know it's a review article. My funding committee has made me write to the journal and say, would you please ask them to confirm this is a research article? You gotta be kidding me, okay? Look at all those numbers, all right? I had to do it. Okay, that's about it. Okay, anybody else? Hi. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. My name Dian Eka Chandrawardana from FKIP. Yeah. Could you suggestion if your manuscript in major revision? Yeah. Major revision. Could you what your suggestion if your manuscript in major revision?
Without being blasphemous,
Yeah.
I would say thank you, because you have been given the opportunity to fix it,
Yeah.
and that is a very common request,
Yeah.
because minor revision means you just few things and you're done. It's very rare that you're just going to get a minor revision, because they don't want the responsibility of promising you that you have a good article that they're going to let pass. Okay, so if you got a major revision, you got a list of a whole bunch of stuff you're supposed to do, right? Do it. And then make a list, and then you explain how you do it with one table here, one table there, and then you make comments in the paper on the comment side
saying what you did, and you highlight the changes.
Yes.
Okay? And then you write a nice, grateful cover letter that they took the time to do this. Guys, reviewers are people with husbands, wives, children. They have jobs. Okay, and if they just spent 8 hours reviewing your paper times 3 reviewers plus an editor, they just spent 32 hours on your paper. I'd be really grateful. Have I gotten major revisions? Yeah, all the time. I'm going, yes, it got in there, you know? It's like playing baseball, right? I'm not out. I'm still running. And then you'll get a minor, after major revisions, you'll get it in. Then they'll give you back a minor revision 1 or 2 times. Then finally it'll go to copy editing, and it'll kick back again. It's a process. It's a long one. And the fact that they're letting you participate in it, be grateful. And I mean that in the most humble and respectful ways. Okay. Does that help?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Anybody else? Hi. Beautiful lady in the back. Hi.
Okay, thank you very much for the chance. Actually, I've got 2 simple questions. But before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Lisa Rahmanina from Unihas. My first question is, one of the reasons of rejected article is about citation, about self-citation and total citation in an article. Would you like to tell us about the issues of that? And then the second, as a writer, mostly we faced problems in psychological factors, which included laziness, bad mood, and maybe difficulties in to start writing. Maybe you may share tips to us about writing mood, to make it the mood get better. So maybe you can share tips. Thank you.
Let's separate the questions and address one and the other. No,
Okay,
I
okay.
understand that you're talking about self-citation and total citation count, and you're talking about rejection. I'm not sure I understand the question. I know you're talking about rejection. I know you're talking about self-citation, citation counts. Are you asking me, does self-citation ratio for total citation influence rejection?
Yes, some people say I have read about one article, one reasons the article is rejected is self-citation, too much self-citation.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I do it. I rejected one recently, and I liked the person.
Okay.
I knew who it was because I was the editor. It was a friend. Could I tell him that I had read his paper? No. Did I send it out for peer review? No. It is my decision at the editor stage whether to send it out. And the self-citation was much too high. And I frankly rejected it for that reason. Okay. Do other journals do that? Yes. Okay. The editor has a choice to send it out for peer review or not. Okay. He sends it to an associate editor who makes a recommendation. That's how it works. Okay. And you know, when I got the paper, I was the editor and it was my friend. So I couldn't make that decision. I had to withdraw myself. I had already made the decision to reject it, but I couldn't ethically because I know the person. So I had to ethically give the paper to another editor and ask that editor to review it. And guess what that editor did? Same thing. Same thing. So I had to give it to that editor, and that editor had to reject it, and I was completely out of it. And they had to correspond it. But guess what? We came to exactly the same decision. Because ethically, if you're the reviewer and you can guess who it is, you're supposed to drop out. If you're the editor and you know the person, you're supposed to drop out. It's called anonymous, right? There's blind, double blind, and open. Some journals have open review where you know each other. It's fair, it's okay, but it has to be stated. So the answer is yes. Okay. What's your second question? I'm still not sure I got it.
Okay, yeah. You know, as a writer, mostly we faced some psychological factors, you know, sometimes that you're affected by mood, by bad mood, and then difficult to start to write. Yeah, to continue the writing. You know, maybe you may share some tips since we have seen you have written so many articles actually. Thank you.
Are you asking how to get over that bad mood and continue writing?
Yeah, maybe you may share some tips. Thank you.
Take the dog for a walk. I mean, you know, spend some time with the people you care about. Go to the health club, go to dinner, just get away from it for a little while and then come back. Okay, have I ever been rejected? Yes. Have I ever gotten a revision? Yes. I got one 2 days ago and it made me really unhappy because it had been through several stages and the chief editor told me it's going to pass this time and the associate editor keeps kicking it back for the same reason. It's like, man, you know, I'm not going to look at this for a week. Okay, you put it away, and you come back to it when your head is clear. Okay, and then you can write a nice letter, rebuttal letter, and go through it. Never do anything when you're upset. It's not good. It's like sending an email when you're angry. It's just a bad thing. Okay, all right. That about cover it? Okay. Anybody else? Hi. Pizza, cheese. No, I'm just kidding. I was hoping that's the question. Hi, Linda. Okay.
I want to ask about how to really identify a predatory journal because there are journals that listed on the Scopus,
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
sometimes overnight then it was delisted.
It
And it
doesn't-
happens to my colleagues and I.
Happened to me too.
time. Poor
Happens to me too.
I mean, can you share some tips to really, because sometimes we cannot really believe with the Scopus list.
First of
Yeah.
all,
Thank
Scopus
you.
delists for many reasons. It has nothing to do with predatory. They have a checklist. It's a rubric, and now it's checked by AI. Okay? Some of the checklists are, do they increase their number of publications? Is it regular? Do they have the same number of editions throughout the year at about the same time? Is the editor easily accessed, that email? What is the chief editor's ranking? You know, is he respected? Does he have a high age count? Does he have a high age count? Is he a full professor? Is he respected in the field? The website quality, okay. The review process. Have they gotten any complaints from authors that are valid? Okay. You know, okay, Sage Journal, which is a pretty good journal, okay, has increased its fees regularly from like $100 to $1,500. Okay, is it a predatory journal? No. What is a predatory journal? Because they email you? Wiley emails me. Taylor and Swift emails me all the time. Please submit. Does that make it a predatory journal? Okay. Business journals publish in less than a month. Does that make them predatory? No. Okay. Wiley charges $5,000 for a journal article. Does that make it predatory? No. Okay. That word predatory was something that Mr. Beale threw around very irresponsibly. Okay, and people use it now all the time, not knowing what it means. Okay. No, I'm not giving you a hard time, but something getting delisted doesn't necessarily correspond with predatory. Okay, predatory is someone who hunts you up to publish for money with little or no ethics to peer review and other things. That's kind of a pretty good definition. They hunt you up and they promise you publication with little or no peer review for a sum of money. Okay, I get those like every Tuesday. Okay, but the majority of the ones in the journals that get delisted aren't necessarily predatory. They busted the business model in some other way. And you can check it. I mean, check the journal that got delisted. Did they suddenly go from 12 articles 4 times a year to 25 articles?
Sometimes we realize it less.
Yeah, that's kind of it, right? Okay. Did they have a change in editors often? Did they have change? Did the website quality somehow have a problem? Was the peer review process less than clear? Okay. Were there things on the website? I mean, is the peer review process stated clearly in the website? Okay. Did they have too much of a Chat GPT detector rating? I'm so not kidding. Okay. All right. They have so it's not only that. So that's my definition for predatory. Okay. Anybody else? Hi. I hope these questions are helpful. Yes, this nice lady here and then the nice lady in the back. Hi. Sorry for me sitting on the desk. I am tired. I've got like 3 hours sleep the last week every night. You saw me going, right? You think you're falling asleep? I'm falling asleep too. Everybody, nap time. Okay. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for this occasion, Mr. John. Sometimes I doubt myself and say, can I write a good article? Do you have any suggestion how to motivate ourselves to start writing, to convince ourselves you can make a good article and start it? How to make it works?
You tell
Thank
yourself every Tuesday at 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm going to be sitting in that chair and I'm not getting out of it. And that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay? I know from 5 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock and my wife's not awake. And I know I can sit down. I know my wife goes to work at 7:30 and I'm going to have free time until noon until I have to go to the office. I say, that's my writing time. That's what I'm going to be doing. And I get used to it and I like it. And I look forward to it. And I make it a routine. And it's like running or anything else, you get used to it. And you just, it's hard to start. But once you start, you're going to love it and not want to stop. That's the best I can do. Okay? And read a lot so you feel comfortable. Okay, all right. Yes, ma'am, the lady in the red in the back. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm Yuni Indah from North Bengkulu,
Hi.
Ratu Samba University.
Okay.
I often receive email
I know what it says.
from international journal,
Uh-huh.
but I confused to publish my article
Uh-huh.
because I'm afraid this journal is predator.
Yeah, probably.
How strategy to avoid and to know it is a predator journal. How can we identify this
can't.
journal? And then is that the Scopus Index is the best index journal? Is there another choice index? Example, Copernicus index. So, how we identifying this journal is good or not? Copernicus index.
Okay. Number one, anybody who sends me an email, I don't do it. I avoid it that way. Okay, I just protect myself. Anybody who sends me an article that I don't know. Now, listen, when you've been writing a lot in the field, sometimes a journal will write you for an invited because you've reviewed for that journal, they know you. If I have a relationship with the journal, like one wrote me the other day and said, would you please submit an article on so-and-so? I know the journal, I published in the journal, I know the editor. Yeah, okay. But most of the time, I have no idea who these people are, okay? The other thing is you can check the factor on the, you can check the rankings. That's another thing. Or if it's a big publisher, okay?
Sage seems to be contacting people, but they're not contacting you. They write it in such a way that it's an advertisement. Please consider Sage the next time. Now, a buddy of mine, Theron Mueller, and his co-author evaluated like 1,000 emails to figure out what predatory journals were. They hit some good factors, okay? But the fact is, my suggestion, just don't do it. There's too many good journals out there that you can find on your own. You don't need to do that. How do you find a good journal? You look at the impact factor. I'm sorry, you look at the ranking factors, okay? And that'll help you, okay? Okay, look, indexing's a business. Scopus and Web of Science make the rules. One more time, those with the gold make the rules. If Copernicus somehow gets in power tomorrow, we'll all go to Copernicus. But they don't. Right now, those in power are Scopus and Web of Science, and that's who we have to play with, whether we like it or not. If you choose to go to the others, understand that your paper may not be recognized by your university or your funding agency, unless they have stipulated in their regulations that they're recognizing it. However, it probably won't help you for your promotion and other stuff in the future. Okay. Does that help? Okay, I know that wasn't good news, right? Okay. I'm terrible. I always give bad news. Okay, anybody else? There's a lady in the back there. No, off to the right. How are we doing on time? Am I okay? We're probably over now.
Hi, John. My name is Sari.
Hi, Sari.
Hi there. Sorry.
What's going on?
Yeah. It is very interesting to listen to your explanation, and it's kind of motivating, actually. And my question is about the section of the articles. For you yourself, which part of the article you write first to speed up the writing process? Thank you.
Here's the thing. I mean, honestly, I know people who write the methodology first, and then they go find the literature to support that. I strongly disagree with that. Okay? I'm not saying it's not effective, but I don't think you can really write an article until you know what's been done in the field. So you have to go out and you have to read all this other stuff to figure out what's been done, what kind of methodology is used and stuff like that. And I have to have a research gap, and I have to have research questions, right? Before I get to the methods, okay? So for me, it's a recursive process, okay? But when I start writing, I already know what I'm going to write from the beginning to the end, because I've already done the literature review and I've made all my notes. So I start writing the introduction, okay? And I develop my research question based on the gap in the literature, and then I answer it in my methodology. I restate my research question, okay? And then I have the methods to do it. Then I go to my results and I restate my research question again, okay? Because the research questions are probably the first thing you put down. And then when I get to the discussion, I restate the research question again after the results, and then I address it again. So that research question is probably the first thing I put pen to paper down, okay? But then I've got the literature review that comes to it, because if you don't have a really good literature review that you show the gap in the literature, and it's not all clearly connected, you're not going to get there. So for me, it's the literature review and the introduction, literature review, and the research question. I know other people do it differently, but that's just me. That's how I do it. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I'm sorry. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. And then in the back. Yes, ma'am. I think we're over time now, about 4:30.
Okay. Hello, Mr. John.
Hi.
My name is Sally Ratnasari from Agriculture Faculty.
Okay.
I'm a question: if we want to start to publish for Scopus Index a journal, we start to publish in quartile 1 or starting from lower quartile. What is your suggestion?
You know what?
Thank you.
You would think that a Q4 is easier to publish than a Q1. It's not. I mean, because sometimes the reviewers for the Q4 are of such poor quality, you have such a hard time, right? Or sometimes they're really awesome, okay? And sometimes the Q1 is really hard, and sometimes the reviewers are so great and so helpful that things just move along. Sometimes, you know, at this stage in my career, I find the SCI easier than the Scopus because the editors and the reviewers are so much more, you know, things kind of go smoother up there, but not always. I got to be honest with you, it's hard. It's hard. But take a swing at a SCI, okay? A mid-level SCI before you go down to a Scopus, and then go down and down and down. This is a really bad thing. I shouldn't say it, but some people will journal shop. They'll send in an article, and they'll get feedback from that one journal that was going to reject it. Okay, because once the article is rejected, you own it again. Okay, it's not double submission. And then they'll use the feedback that they got to improve it and submit it to another article, another journal. And they'll do that again and again and again until they get a good thing. Now, double submission is bad. That's like dating two people at the same time. It's just mean. All right? They're going to get angry when they find out. Okay? All right. It's like having a secret husband or wife, right? When they find out, you're in trouble. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Hi.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, the lady in the back, sir. Sir, can you take it to the lady in the back, and then you? She was first. I'm sorry, but we promised to come. Okay. Hi. Hello.
Hello there, Pak Becker. My name is
Hi.
Ferani.
Hi, Mary.
From Communication Science, Faculty
Okay.
of Political and Social Science. You know, I'm still a newbie, so I still
that's fun.
trying to figure out how to write effectively for international publication. So I will ask a basic question, I think.
Okay, it's fine.
So when it comes to write an article for international, especially for international publication, I am interested in understanding how one can achieve a novelty in a work. Novelty in our work. So could you please share any insight or even strategies to you recommend for incorporating fresh ideas or originality into academic writing, and how to create maybe captivating titles, aka sexy titles, to attract international readers. Thank you very much.
It's okay to say sexy titles. That's a word that's used in publication. It's okay. It doesn't mean anything other than attractive title, and it's used in the publication industry quite often. So it's okay to say that. I mean, we're all kind of smiling when we hear it, but that's kind of a standard term, okay? The first time I heard that in a CEO talking like that into a business meeting, I went, I don't like you. Because he said it to my wife, you know? It's like, man. Okay, number one, you don't have to have a novel paper. Stop. You don't have to have a novel idea to get published. You do not have to have a novel idea to get published. There are many journals that publish on the quality of the research, not novelty. Okay? You look in the submission guidelines. I actually edit for 2 of them like that. I'm actually an editor for 2 like that. If you want novel, you got to see what the trends are doing. So look at the most recent journal articles that are published in the articles. And you can go to things like innovation journals. I published in the Innovation Language Teaching recently. Okay, this is really bad, but you go into the old stuff sometimes, and you dig it up, and then you take it forward. It's kind of fun. and move in a new direction. So see the hot trends by reading well, okay? And sometimes you just come across an idea and you go, that's pretty cool, but then do the literature review to see if it really is cool or it was just cool to you. Because most of the time, we never really come up with new ideas. We're inspired by something we saw. It sounds really new, but the fact is we got the idea from somewhere. Okay. I hope that helps. Okay. We have a nice
Thank
lady
you
here
so
in the
much.
red. Hi. Hi.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for John for your insightful sharing. Let me introduce myself. My name is Latifa from Agribusiness Majoring. I ask you about the hypothesis because in my research using qualitative data method, but based on my experience, qualitative data don't really need hypothesis. But sometimes I read about the journal must use hypothesis test. How should we how about we change my research to use hypothesis or let be the original don't use hypothesis.
Let me make sure I understand the question. You're doing a quantitative study.
Yes.
Okay. You're using hypotheses.
I don't use hypothesis, but I use Smart PLS SAM.
Wait a minute. You're using Smart PLS and you're not using hypotheses?
Yes, but I use validity and reliability, but don't use hypothesis test.
You're using what and not hypotheses?
Don't
So
know.
I care about what you're saying. I'm just having a little trouble understanding. What are you using instead of hypotheses?
Because in my experience in my master degree, qualitative method don't really need hypothesis test. Qualitative method. It don't use hypothesis test.
But you said you're using Smart PLS.
Yes, I use SAM PLS.
Smart PLS.
Yes.
First. And then you're
Yes.
using the qualitative after to follow it up.
Yes, but I want to submit in journal use hypothesis test gitu, sir. So I confuse what should I do?
And
I
you-
convert my research to use hypothesis or not gitu.
And what are you using now? Research questions?
No.
But
Research
which
question.
one is she using now? Research questions?
Yes.
Okay, I have to be honest with you. You know, you can have research questions and hypotheses, okay? But not having hypotheses with Smart PLS, you had the same look I had, right? Yeah, this is kind of a standard sort of thing, you know? Now, you have two choices in this. You can follow the journal, or you can find another journal, right? I mean, it's just that simple. Golden rule makes the rules. They want you to do it this way, you do it, or you step back and you do it another way. Have I ever pulled my papers back? Oh, yeah. They want something, I'm not going to do it. Okay? Or you can write back a rebuttal to the editor and say, I disagree, you know, and see if they push or they let it go. You can write in your rebuttal saying, I'd prefer not to do this, these are my reasons, and maybe they'll go along with you. And maybe they won't. And that time you have to step back. I haven't read the paper, so I'm being really careful, okay? But not using hypotheses with Smart PLS, ooh, I'm just kind of wondering how that's going to go, you know? So those are my three choices. One, you do it. Two, you write a rebuttal and see what they say. Or three, you pull back and you move on. Okay. There's lots of journals. Okay. Anybody else?
Sir, I want to ask the second question. How
Okay.
about word of limitation? But you should report all the research process for instance, like cleaning data, you report almost in your process, in your research, you report in your journal. So about the word of limitation, sometimes in some journals describe to limit your words. So what is your prioritize to the topic yang apa ya, should you report gitu? What is the should be prioritized to report all your process? It's like cleaning data or like.
Okay, yeah. I
Yes.
mean, look, with PLS, what I'm trying to say is, as with everything, do you remember that APA website that I showed you? Yes. Okay, click on it for partial least square structural equation models, and they have a checklist right there. Do everything that's on there. And the chances of you getting published are pretty good. And yeah, cleaning the data and reporting how you cleaned it and how many you had before and how many you had after is a standard way that you have to do. And it can be done in about a half a sentence. Okay? All right.
Yes, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Okay, anybody else? Hello, ma'am. Let's go ahead and pass it up to you. Hi. Hi. Hi, Anita.
Thank you. My name is Anita. I am from Fatmawati Soekarno
Okay.
University of Bengkulu.
Okay.
My question is, as a reviewers of
Yep.
the international journal, do you have some goals with the editor board of the journal? Because I assume that some of editor of journal have another reason to publish an article. I mean that such as they choose the popular topic with a high citation. They need high citation for the article of their journal. So how about you as the reviewer? So, and my
Reviewer or
second
the
question is,
editor?
what should we do as the researchers to survive and to can publish based on the reviewer standard and also based on the editor of the journal standard?
Let's break this down, okay? There's an editor, there's an associate editor, there's a reviewer, okay? If the editor has decided to pass this on to an associate editor, and the associate editor has passed it on to me, it is not my job to worry about citation counts. That's their job, okay? I'm there to, I've got a rubric about the introduction literature that I have to follow. Now, do editors think about hot topics and citation counts and all that stuff? Yeah, of course they do, okay? But that's not the reviewer's job. That's not the reviewer's job, okay? Does that help? Do you have a follow-up question that seemed I didn't answer? I kind of see there's something missing. Okay, all right. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, that wraps it up. Ladies and gentlemen, we probably went way over time with the questions, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to answer all of them. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Yeah, give your big hands, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Thank you very much, John. So let's wrap up some his talk first. We need to know that, yeah, read regularly, and nobody will teach you how to write, but experience does. The more you read, the better you write, and the more you listen, the better you speak. Thank you, John, for your attendance here in the University of Bengkulu, and thank you for for your presence here in this occasion. We are so glad here and being honored in amongst you. And so this is the last session of our agenda today. So let me conclude it. Let me close it. And thank you. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
For outstanding presentation and valuable knowledge, and also our extraordinary moderator, Mr. Azhar Aziz Lubis. Give the applause for both of them.
So we will go next. We will have the appreciations to Dr. John Raymond Baker. So we would love to invite the head of UPT Bahasa University of Bengkulu, Dr. Wisma Yunita MPD, to give certificate of appreciations to our keynote speaker, Dr. John Raymond Baker. So we invite our keynote speaker, Dr. John, to come to the front stage, and also our moderator. We also have Merge for our extraordinary moderator for today's sessions. Okay, lastly, we will give an appreciations to our moderator, Mr. Aziz, and also a certificate of appreciations to our extraordinary moderator for today's sessions. That is all. And lastly, give applause to our speaker for today's sessions and our moderator for today's sessions. We'll have our photo sessions for a moment. Okay, so we will have a time for all of the lecturers and also all of the participants to have a photo with our speakers. But lastly, that is the end of our workshop for today's sessions. Thank you so much for all of the participants for today, and see you on our next sessions. Bye-bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sabar ya.